Hello and welcome to the 15th video. I think it's the 15th video in this series making simple Floppy Robin for Android using Cocos2dx. So in this video we're going to look at adding some sound into the application. I've already added, as you can see, into the resources section some sounds here which are taken from a couple of other games. One's Traffic Light Mania, one's another game I've worked on. Not particularly good sounds for the application for this, but they'll do just to demonstrate how everything works. We're going to put the management of our sound all inside our game manager, and the way sounds work is really simple. With this framework, we simply use something called a simple audio engine, and that handles everything for us. All we need to do is load our effects and music up into it, and then call a play function to play an effect or play music. I've also added a background music file here which I've created about 10 minutes ago in about 9 minutes in total work in GarageBand, so it's not very good background music, but it'll do, like I said, just for an example for the application. So into Game Manager, and in the public section it has a new function called late init for late initialization, because we'll use this then to actually start the loading up or the preloading of all our music and effects. What we'll also need is an effects volume and a music volume, and we'll need some getters and setters. Now the framework Cocos2dx provides a macro which allows you on one line to make your private member variables and then your public getter and setter functions, but I prefer to type these out myself separately. So here goes. I'm going to say set effects volume with the integer, and I'm going to say set music volume as well. Thank you for not putting a tab in there. And then we'll also have the getters as well. I'm not sure whether it's quicker to do it this way or not, but we want just an integer here, and then a get and a get. And we don't need an integer here. It was probably quicker to have typed that out from scratch, never mind. Okay, and the last thing we want is we want to be able to play an effect, and the argument for this will be an integer. So effect num in this way, and of course I keep forgetting to add the const in here, and I dread to think how many other functions there are now in the project that don't have that. So now we've got these inside here. This play effect, the way we'll play the effects is we'll simply supply a constant, a number, and then the private functions in this class will know which file then to choose. So I'm just going to go into constants.h, and you can see here that I've already added 3 constants at the bottom. So effect robin tap, effect success, and effect explosion, which tell the engine or tell the game manager then which effect we want playing. So back into GameManager.h, down into the private section now, we want int and effects volume, and we want int and music volume. Now these will be set in this video to an arbitrary value of 5. In the next video we'll have to write a screen that allows us to change these with a menu. And as for saving the values, we'll do that when we come round to adding in the Android code. So I'll just build this now because I've got some yellow triangles and I'm not sure why. Okay, good, that's disappeared. And now we want a couple more functions adding in privately. We want a preload of an effect where we have the a constant car pointer to the name, and then the number, the effect number, so that could be explosion and then a 1 for example, and then play effect name, which is where we've actually got the constant car name, and this is the total number of sounds available for that particular effect. So say we've got 2 explosion sounds. You'll see how all that works when we start writing out the functions. So now we've written all that out, it's time to go into the .cpp, and at the top of the file here we're going to include simple audio engine.h, which is the header file that allows us to access the simple audio engine to load our file, effects and music and actually play them. Also at the top of C Game Manager, .cpp, we're going to write out some constants just for the numbers, so we'll say knum explosions, and we have 2 of those, or expulsions as I've written here. And then we want another define for the knum robin tap, and we have just 1 of those, and define knum success, and we have 2 success sounds. The reason we're doing it like this, you'll see in the code, is it allows us then, if we add more sounds in, just simply to change this number here, and the rest of the code stays all the same. And what we'll do is we'll play, when we have more than 1 sound, that sound then a randomly selected sound. Back then to cGameManager.h, let's take these functions first of all here and drop them into the .cpp, and now the good old brackets adding in. Like so, and then I just need to take the cGameManager as a prefix as well. So the getters and setters are obviously easy. We return the music volume, return the effects volume, music volume equals volume, and effects volume equals volume. And now late in it, inside here, we're going to do the preloading of all of our effects. Before we do that, I just need to take these last 2 functions here and I'll drop them at the top here, but I'll take this play effect name and just cut that and drop that above the play effect here. Let's take some brackets again, like so, and I need the prefix as well. Okay, good. So now we're ready to set up the initialization and the preloading of our effects. So for the preloading of our effects, let's make a set an array of characters. We won't need more than 32. And I just want to memset this to make sure it really is blank. So I'll just do size of, and then our effect name. So we basically clear out our array. Shouldn't need to do that, but you never know. And I'm going to use sprintf just to put in to get the file name that we need with the number as well, .wav, like so. And then afterwards a comma name and number, so this gets our file name that we want to preload. And now what we have to do is load that into our simple audio engine. So we just say Cocos2dx, or Dention, I think it's called or pronounced, I'm not sure. Simple audio engine, shared engine, and then we can say preload effect, and we just send in our effect name like that. So that's the preload effect function written. And now inside the late init, we want to set up the actual loading of all those effects. So we'll do for and I equals 0, and condition is I is less than knum, and let's say explosions, and then plus I. I'm sure you get the idea this works. And now we can say preload effect, and we want explosion, and then the number, which will be I plus 1, because remember I starts at 0. And I'm just going to copy and paste this then a couple more times, like so. So we want knum robin tap, and this one is called robin tap, and we want knum success, and this one is called success. It could seem a little bit long-winded to do everything like this when I could just call this a number of times, but it allows the adding of new sounds and things fairly easy without changing too much code when you do things this way. Okay, the next thing we want to do then is we want to load up our background music. So again, we'll call the simple audio engine, shared engine, and we can call preload background music, and this time I'll just type the file in directly like this, mp3. And the last but not least, we'll set the effects volume to 5, and we'll set the music volume also to 5 for now. Like I said, we'll deal with the changing and the storing of these settings later on in the application. So now when the application starts up, if we then call on our singleton late init, we'll preload all of these effects that we need into the audio engine. So let's do that. Let's go into app delegate, and just above the line where we run the scene, let's get our C game manager, our instance, and call the late init there to preload our music and our effects. Okay, so the last thing that's remaining now is this play effect name and play effect. So in the play effect section here, we just need to switch our effect num like so. And I was just thinking, actually, one thing we can do before this obviously is say that if our effects volume is equal to 0, then we'll just return. We're not going to do anything. Otherwise, we'll have a look for our effect num. So if we've got k effect robin tap, then we want to play effect name, and it's our robin tap. And I could also probably, if these characters here, also declare these as constants, but it doesn't matter too much. And k num robin tap. I'm just going to copy this and paste it in twice. So we want k effect explosion. So we have here explosion, and k num explosions, and last but not least k effect success and success, k num success. So it's not really very difficult, this, and this will then play the relevant effect for us. So inside play effect name, again we need to build up the file name with the effect that we're going to play. So I'm going to take this code here and just drop it into here like so, which gets us our effect name. Except what we want to do, sorry, I'll make that num e, is we want to select the number at random. So what we'll do is we'll say int num e equals rand, then moduloed by the number of sounds plus 1, which will then get our random number of the file that we want to play. And now what we need to do is set the volume and then play the effect. So we take our Cocos2dx, the simple audio engine, shared engine, and we can call set effects volume, and what we want inside here is to cast our effects volume to a float and then divide it by 10, because the volumes inside the simple audio engine are on a 0 to 1.0 basis as a float, and we have stored an integer which we're saying is 1 to 10. And then all we need to do is call simple audio engine, shared engine, and play effect, and it's our effect name, and we're not looping, so I'm just going to take that out like that. I think there's one without the loop option. Yes, there is. So that then is playing our effect. One more thing we need to deal with is background music. If I go back into the game manager and let's add a couple more functions in here. We want start music and avoid stop background music. Let's copy these and paste both of these into the implementation file. You'll be glad to know we're very nearly done with all of this now. And just drop some more brackets in at the bottom here. Make a little bit of space. I need the prefix. Okay, so when we're starting our background music, first thing, let's check the music volume. If the music volume is equal to 0, let's not bother, we'll just return. Otherwise, what we need to do is go to Cocos2dx again and simple audio engine and the shared engine, and now what we need to say is set background music volume. Again, like before, we want to cast ours to a float, music volume, and divide by 10. And now what we want to do is again call up the simple audio engine and then play the background music. and we want to play it in a loop. So we have our bgmusic.mp3 and we say true for playing in a loop. And last but not least, here in the stop background music, we'll take Simple Audio Engine, Shared Engine, and stop background music, like so. And that's everything now added in to deal with our sounds. One more thing we need to do is inside app delegate, the did enter background and will enter foreground. We need to uncomment this part here for the Simple Audio Engine to pause and restart the background music, which also means at the top here we need to include our Simple Audio Engine header so that it's aware of the Simple Audio Engine. And I'll just do the Cocos2dx engine like so, and the Cocos2dx engine in here. Okay, so that's everything added in. Last but not least is to go into Hello World scene and start playing our music. So we need to include at the top of here our game manager so we can access the relevant functions. And now in the initialization we'll just say the C game manager and our instance, and we'll say start background music. And now we want to play our effects when various things happen. So here the robin is tapped, so we'll C game manager, instance, and we'll have play effect, and now we can say K effect robin tap, which is why things have been set up like they are. So we just have to, in a very simple line of code here with no characters, say what effect we want to play. And down inside the update we'll play a success sound if we score, and we'll play the explosion if we crash. Good, so I'll just build that and cross my fingers and hope it actually builds. And now hopefully when I play this you'll hear some sound, because I have tried to set the record to record the mic and record the sound. Let's see what happens. So the application's running and the background music isn't playing. I'll just up the volume. Okay. So hopefully you can hear the sound of me touching the robin. I'll have a look in a minute why the background music isn't playing. And you heard the explosion there, hopefully, of the robin hitting the tubes. So just go again and try and score a point so you can hear the success. And there you go, there's the success sound playing for when we've scored a point. And another crash sound and scored 3. Okay, let me just very quickly check as to why the background music hasn't started playing very quickly before I end the video. I'm sure it's something simple. I've got play background music, start background music, I've spelled the file name wrong of background music here. I'll just run this again and hopefully the background music should also start playing when we finish the splash screen. Yep, so now we've got the groovy background music that took, like I said, about 5 minutes earlier. Okay then, that's enough of that. So that's it then for this video. It's a little bit long again, but the only thing that's remaining to do now is to put in a screen that a user can click on to set the volumes, because like I said in a previous video, the Simple Audio Engine in this version of Cocos2dx has one negative, and that is the hardware buttons don't work on Android phones to increase and decrease the volume, so we'll make a settings screen for that. So that's it then for this one. Comments, questions, criticisms welcome. Oh, and one more thing, I've changed the bounding box. There was an error in the bounding box which somebody really helpfully pointed out for me. Thank you very much in the comments. I should have put height here and not width, obviously, in the tube collision box. That's now been corrected, and also in the download for the relevant video. That's it for this one, so see you in the next video. Thanks very much for watching.